When Shohei Ohtani's name appeared at the top of the batting order, and Kyle Tucker's name appeared right below it, the manager paused. Not out of confusion. Not out of hesitation. He paused because even he, a man who had spent decades inside the world of professional baseball, couldn't quite believe what he was looking at. Then, almost involuntarily, the words came out. It's too strong. 3 words. Simple. Unfiltered. And perhaps the most honest thing any manager has said about a lineup in years. This wasn't a press conference soundbite carefully crafted for the media. This was a man staring at something extraordinary and reacting the only way a human being can when faced with something that genuinely exceeds expectations, with raw honesty. And when a manager says that about his own lineup, the baseball world has no choice but to stop and pay attention. So what exactly makes this lineup so special? What is it about placing Ohtani first and Tucker second that sent shockwaves not just through the dugout, but through every front office, every analyst desk, and every legendary player who has ever worn a uniform in this sport? To understand that, we need to go beyond the statistics. We need to look at what this combination actually means, for the game, for the team, and for the legacy of Shohei Ohtani himself. There is a reason lineup construction is considered an art form in baseball. Every manager, every coach, every analyst understands that where you place a hitter in the order is not simply about talent. It is about function. It is about purpose. It is about creating a system where each hitter amplifies the threat of the one before him and the one after him. The leadoff hitter sets the table. He gets on base. He creates chaos. He forces the pitcher into difficult counts before the lineup has even settled in. The second hitter is the executioner. He arrives when the table has been set, when the pitcher is already uncomfortable, and when a mistake, just one, can swing the entire momentum of an inning. Now imagine that your leadoff hitter is Shohei Ohtani. Not just any leadoff hitter. Not the kind who slaps singles into the gap and sprints down the first baseline hoping for an error. Ohtani as a leadoff hitter is a weapon that simply does not exist anywhere else in baseball. He can hit a ball 470 feet. He has elite on-base percentage. He has stolen bases at a clip that would make traditional speedsters envious. He walks enough to frustrate pitchers. He strikes fear into catchers who know that one shake of the wrong sign could end their evening. Pitchers come into an at-bat against the leadoff hitter with a plan. They have a plan because leadoff hitters, however good they may be, typically have a ceiling. They are fast, or they are disciplined, or they are contact hitters. Rarely all 3. And almost never with the power to hit the ball out of the stadium in any direction at any moment. Against Ohtani leading off, there is no plan that feels safe. And then, before the pitcher has even had time to exhale, Kyle Tucker steps into the box. Kyle Tucker is not a footnote in this lineup. He is not simply a capable hitter placed behind a generational talent to benefit from favorable counts. Tucker is, on his own merits, one of the most dangerous hitters in baseball. He is the kind of hitter who makes pitchers feel like every option is wrong. He does damage to fastballs. He does damage to breaking balls. He can hit for average and for power simultaneously, which is a skill that separates good hitters from truly elite ones. His plate discipline is exceptional. His ability to drive in runners, to execute when the moment is highest, is the kind of quality that franchises spend entire decades searching for. When Tucker bats second behind Ohtani, something specific happens that goes beyond the two individuals. Pitchers now face an impossible choice at the start of every inning. If they pitch carefully to Ohtani, trying to avoid giving him anything to hit, they risk falling behind in the count, walking him, or worse, making a mistake over the plate that ends up in the third deck. And if Ohtani reaches base, Tucker arrives with a runner on first, a one-run game feeling suddenly precarious, and every advantage now belonging to the offense. But if they challenge Ohtani, deciding that going right at him is the smarter play, they risk exactly the kind of first-inning damage that collapses pitching outings before they ever find a rhythm. There is no comfortable path. And that discomfort, that impossible arithmetic that forces pitchers into bad decisions, is exactly what great lineup construction is designed to create. The manager understood this when he looked at the card. He understood it so clearly that he couldn't help himself. It's too strong. It is one thing for the manager to react this way. Managers are competitors. They feel the weight of games in their bones. Their reactions are often immediate and emotional. But when the legends of the sport, men who played the game at the highest level for decades, men who faced the greatest hitters in baseball history, men who have seen lineup cards across multiple eras, when they look at Ohtani batting first and Tucker batting second and visibly pause, something has shifted. Former players who faced Barry Bonds at the height of his dominance have spoken about the unique psychological weight of knowing that one man in a lineup was essentially untouchable. That you could walk him intentionally and still feel like you had made a mistake. That everything in the game tilted slightly in his direction simply because he was present. Those same players, looking at this lineup, describe a similar feeling. Not identical, Ohtani is a different player in a different era with different tools, but similar in one critical way. The feeling that the rules of engagement have changed. That the usual strategies feel inadequate. That you are looking at something where the conventional answers simply do not apply. One legendary infielder, when shown the projected lineup, reportedly said nothing for several seconds before finally responding, "I don't know what I would do with that." Another former pitcher, a Hall of Fame candidate who spent 15 years making his living by outsmarting the best hitters in the world, watched video of Ohtani's recent swings and Tucker's recent at-bats back-to-back. His assessment was concise: you can't pitch to both of them the same way. And you can't pitch to either of them the different way. You're always wrong. This is the environment this lineup creates. Not just for opposing pitchers, but for entire coaching staffs who have to game plan for it 3 days in advance. For analysts who have to build strategies knowing that every model they create has a flaw when Ohtani is on base and Tucker is at the plate. When people talk about Shohei Ohtani, they talk about the home runs. They talk about the velocity on his pitches, even in the seasons when he was not pitching. They talk about the two-way legacy, the translation from Japanese baseball, the contract, the records. What they do not talk about enough is what Ohtani does before the game ever starts. People close to the organization describe a man who approaches the leadoff role with the same methodical precision he brings to every other aspect of his professional life. He studies opposing pitchers not simply to identify their arsenal, but to understand their tendencies under pressure. Which pitch do they lean on when the count is against them? When do they deviate from their game plan? Where do they make mistakes when they are uncomfortable? He arrives knowing exactly what he is likely to see. And because he already knows, he can sit back in the box with a patience that drives pitchers toward frustration faster than any conventional aggressive approach could. This is the Ohtani that makes the lineup so dangerous. Not just the physical gifts, although those gifts are extraordinary. It is the combination of elite physical ability and elite preparation that makes him so difficult to plan against. You cannot exploit a weakness that has already been studied and accounted for. You cannot create discomfort in a hitter who has already anticipated every form of discomfort you might offer. And then Tucker, prepared with equal rigor, steps in behind him. The question that everyone watching this lineup must eventually answer is simple: how do you stop it? The honest answer, based on everything we know about both players and the way lineup construction actually functions in modern baseball, is that you do not stop it. You manage it. You try to limit the damage. You try to pitch around it on days when the game situation allows for sacrifice. You try to find the one at-bat in the one inning where a mistake might be acceptable. But you do not stop it. What this means for the season is that opponents will be forced into uncomfortable decisions from the very first inning of every game. That managers will burn relievers earlier than they would like. That pitching staffs will exhaust their high-leverage options before the lineup has cycled back around even once. It means that opposing teams will show up to the ballpark already feeling slightly behind, the way every team felt when they had to face a lineup containing the very best of any generation. And it means that this team, with Ohtani at the top and Tucker right behind, has the kind of beginning to their batting order that changes not just how a single game is played, but how an entire season unfolds. The manager knew it the moment he wrote it down. It's too strong. He wasn't complaining. He wasn't worried. He was marveling. The way anyone marvels when they find themselves in the presence of something that history will remember long after the season is over. The only question now is how far this lineup can carry them, and whether the rest of baseball is truly ready for what Ohtani and Tucker are about to do together.